has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
Make sure you get the SportsGrid app on iOS or in the Play Store on Android. You get it all with this thing. It's free, and you can watch the network on there, listen to the network on there. You'll love it. It has in-game odds. Follow your favorite hosts like Carver High. You're going to love it. The SportsGrid app. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Also, we're streaming on X. Did you know that? Just go to SportsGrid-Live, and you can watch us on X 7 days a week, all day, every day, all night. It's awesome. You can get the Ferrall Coast to Coast and Ferrall on the Bench podcasts on iTunes every day, Monday through Friday. You're good to go with the podcast. And then I wanted to tell you about tonight's lineup on SportsGrid. You've got at 6 to 8 game time decisions with the Kevin Walsh. And then at 8 to 10, it's Scotty Wetzel along with the mayor of Miami tonight, Joe Ranieri. Opposite picks, and Joe doing in-game live from 8 to 10, 10 to midnight. Of course, it's Sports Rage with Gabe Morency. And on Sports Grid Radio at 8 to 10, it's Carver and Lisi. You get it all on Sports Grid TV and Sports Grid Radio every day, all night, like you read about. All right, into the final hour here with Carver High on a C2C. We're still talking hockey because there's tons of games tonight, and everybody loves hockey.
Yes, we have a few other games that we have to get through here. We'll go to Washington next. Of course, the eyes are on Alexander Ovechkin now, 12 away from breaking the Gretzky record. The Blues are in town tonight to see the Capitals. Caps minus $1.62, plus 134 for St. Louis, and a 5.5.
Yeah, you think it's Washington here, right? The way they're playing. I just think that St. Louis has got a shot in this game tonight. For some reason, I'm smelling the Blues at that price at plus $1.40. I'm going to take a shot with the Blues tonight, even though the Caps are better than the Blues and they're at home, and everyone's focusing on Ovechkin needing 12 to pass, 11 to tie. That's all they're thinking about. I'm hoping the Blues can sneak in there and steal one.
The Sabres are in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Some heavy lumber here, minus 210. This is actually down from 245 earlier. Sabres now plus $1.75, total 6.5.
I'm Canes puck line. Lay it at plus 118, the goal and a half.
Hockey night at the PPG in Pittsburgh. Of course, the Flyers smashed the Penguins in Philadelphia on Tuesday night. Now they return. I've got this now at a pick of minus 110 both ways and a 5.5.
You know, the Flyers are playing good hockey all of a sudden. The Penguins are awful. So I'll take the Penguins tonight at that price.
Why not? The Jets going for 12 in a row and a back-to-back night for them. They're in Nashville against the Predators. Jets minus 122, plus 102 for Nashville, and a 5.5.
Well, I mean, I hit 2 of the 3 last night. I tried to go against it in Ottawa. Ottawa's dropped 5 in a row. Fail on my part, so I got to get back onto that Jets stream, going for 12. And not only that, Nashville is awful. So, they are finished. So give me the Jets. I'll take them again. They'll make it a 12.
The Minnesota Wild are in Utah tonight at Salt Lake at the Delta. Utah here tonight, minus 185, plus 155 for the Wild, 5.5.
You know, everybody's talking about the, problems that the Wild are all kinds of banged up and they have no chance. Yeah, I'm not paying that price. I'm just not paying that price for the Utah Hockey Club. I'm not paying that price. Give me the Wild at $1.58 with everyone on the team sick with Rhea and flu and injured. Give me the Wild. I don't trust Utah. I really don't. I mean, whatever. I'm not laying that money on them. That's my problem, is the price. And I can't get a good price on it either way. If I try to do Minnesota, listen to this, with the goal and a half, it's minus $1.70. That's also crap. So just give me the Wild at that price at $1.58. I hit Vancouver last night at $1.58. Give me that $1.58 again. Let's go, Jimmy.
You can't play Utah at minus $1.08. You just can't do it. Utah's not good enough to be able to be doing that. The real heavy lumber tonight is Vegas. They are minus 4 Bills against the Blackhawks in Sin City at the T-Mobile. Plus 3 Bills for the Hawks, 6.5 total.
I'll puck line this as well. Vegas is going to beat the crap out of them. The Blackhawks are, you heard them. You even heard it right out of their own mouths. We never win. We never get better. We never do anything. We're the same crappy team we were at the beginning of the year and last year. We're the same crappy team. Like when you hear guys saying that, they quit. They're a bunch of quitters. Vegas easy here tonight, big 4 or 5 to 1.
The Canucks, after the win in L.A. at the Crypto, they go down across the freeway to Anaheim. They're at the Duck Pond tonight. No plus 150s for them tonight. They're minus $1.30, plus 110 for the quack, 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 and a 5.5. I like the Ducks tonight. How about that? Quack, quack, quack.
Yeah, I'm on the Canucks. They've beaten the Ducks 8 straight times and had sex with them. They're like sleeping with their wives. They beat them 8 straight times. The last time they played them in Anaheim, it was 5-1 Canucks. I told you last night, this team wins on the road, and the Ducks, their kryptonite has been the Canucks. I got to keep going with the Canucks, especially at that cheap price.
Some of these guys losing their balls here by the water. I mean, this is a tough.
Watch out for alligators.
This him almost fell in the water right here. I mean, he's having a tough go. Dart's been on having a tough go down there on the side.
His Achilles standing like that. What's he thinking?
That's not good at all. All right, so there you go. Hockey. All right, I got a lot of football, and I want to try to get to as much of it as I can. Lots of Combine news, and you're going to talk to Adam from the Combine as well. Some Chief things that came out this afternoon, right as we were starting the show. All-Pro Pro Bowl guard Trey Smith, who, of course, was scheduled to be one of the biggest free agents that was going to be available. He's been part of that offensive line. Well, he's not going to be available anymore. Chiefs are going to franchise tag him, and he's going to make somewhere between $22 and $24 million this year. If he signs it, they're going to try to get a long-term deal with him anyway. And also, the Kelsey, we've been back and forth. Another story I can't take anymore. I guess he told McAfee that he's definitely returning next year. So 2025 for Kelsey, he's in.
Yeah, I just don't care. Congratulations. He was already doing nothing last year. His problem is no fault to him. He's fallen in love with this pop star, and that's all that matters to him. He doesn't care about football anymore. It's only going to get worse for him. He came out today with this line of, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life this offseason. I'm in the greatest shape I've been. I'm in the best place I've been in years. They all say that when they're old and washed. Honestly.
Finished. Get him out. Finished. We'll do this draft story when we come back. I've got Travis Hunter for you today. I've got John Lynch, a few other things, more general managers and coaches saying absolutely nothing down in Indianapolis. So we're finally getting some guys running around the field. Yes.
You've got that story about the Browns. They're not trading Garrett. And Garrett's like, screw you. I'm not doing a deal with you.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, what's the real story on the kid Carter out of Penn State, who could be the number one pick?
So last night there was a bit of a firestorm from down there in India as everyone got their hands on his medicals, I guess, and he's got a stress fracture in his right foot, which caused all the what's going to happen to him? Well, they made sure to circle the wagons this morning, him and his camp. I think Rosenhaus is his agent. As well. So they circled the wagons today and said, doesn't need surgery, not advisable. He's going to perform at the pro day. He's still a beast. He still should go number one. So it took them about 12 hours, but they were able to really put the smash on the story that he's got a stress fracture in his right foot.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Adam Kaplan extensively about this Carter foot and stress fracture and what it all is and means coming up here shortly. So he'll clear it all up for us. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, everyone's saying the same thing, that it's not going to stop them from picking him number one.
Correct. Meanwhile, the most popular player, not just today, but maybe this week, in Indianapolis is Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. Of course, his desire to play both wide receiver and cornerback in the NFL. Here is Hunter. He's been asked by teams about playing both ways, and he says he's absolutely doing it.
What are teams telling you about whether they want you to play against different ways?
I did some meetings at receiver, did some meetings at DB, so it's still up in the air. They say nobody has ever done it for real the way I do it, but I tell them that I'm just different. I'm a different person.
Listen,
he's different.
Listen, I think the kid can do it for a few years. I think that he could actually do this when he's as young as he is and he's a beast athletically. He's just an absolute freak of nature. So what happens is, as we all know, with experience and time, those skills recede. He will not be the same player after a lot of hits and a lot of tackles, either or. If he's playing two ways, he's going to get lit up, and then when he's playing DB, he's going to have to make hits. 3-4 years down the road from now, he's going to feel like he's 10 years older than actually being 4 years older. You know what I'm saying, Mike? I think that he could do it for 2 or 3 years where he could play both ways, and people are going to go, wow, this guy's playing both ways. It's the most incredible thing ever. But I believe if you do it every game, and let's say he's healthy, and he plays every game both ways for 3 years, his body, he'll feel 10 years older in 3 years. I do not believe anyone in the NFL can play both ways every snap, every game, every down of 18 games. They're going to 18 games, and it's going to catch up with him like it does everyone else. All it takes is you play in the NFL, all it takes is a few hits, and you're going to find out real quick about playing both ways a bad idea. I think in 2-3 years, it'll be like, okay, I'm a DB now.
Right. Look, I'm with you. You do this all the time for the first couple of years. You're doubling your chance of injury. You're doubling the wear and tear. You're doubling. And look, someone's going to eventually say to him, look, this isn't going to work for us. We're not having it. We want you. And you know what? Maybe it takes 2 years or a year and a half, 2 years for whoever he goes to, whatever franchise that is, to finally be like, listen, we've done this for a little while. We think that you'll be more successful and will be more successful if you are a corner or you are a wide receiver, whatever it is. And they sit down and go, and look, this is what you're going to get paid if you're just that. You're not going to get paid double for playing both. So figure it out. We think you should be doing this. And they'll find a way to do it. But he's super talented, and he's going to go high in this draft. There's no question about that. I had to give you something odds-related here. I mean, everybody loves the 40-yard dash, the 40 times. Odds for who's going to run the fastest 40. Arian Smith, the Georgia wide receiver, plus 280. Isaiah Bond, Texas wide receiver, plus 310. Darian Porter, Tex Johnson. Can I get you in on who's going to run the fastest 40?
No. No.
This is like you know who this is for? This is like a Joey Prawns question tonight on Carver and Lisi. Like he's probably tracked all these guys, since they started playing spring ball.
Joe Lisi has go for the 2 has got it all figured out. I have no clue.
No clue who's going to be in for the top 40-yard dash time. All right, Niners, John Lynch, general manager, talked yesterday, had a couple things to say. Of course, they're due to give Brock Purdy some very large amount of money. And here's John Lynch saying that process has started.
We have started negotiations. We're talking. I won't go into negotiations like always is our stance. Want Brock to be our quarterback as long as we're here and beyond, and we'll leave it at that. I think the final thing, there's no guarantees that we get something done, but my experience has been when both sides are motivated, there's ample opportunity to do so, and we've been able to do that. So,
I mean, it's absolutely inevitable that they're gonna get a deal done with this guy because they've been screwing him by law, which they've been allowed to do. In other words, for his entire career, they've never paid him a nickel. Like he's literally the poorest guy in the league. He's getting ripped off by law. They're allowed to do it. And now it's time to pay the piper. He's getting his money now, as sure as we're all sitting here. He's going to make a ton of money right now, whether they like it or not. Like, well, we don't know if their deal's going to get done. We can never say. Yeah, we can. The Niners are about to fork over fat money to this guy Purdy. And we'll see if it is the right move. Like, what are they going to blame? What are they going to blame this last season on? The coach, McCaffrey, Purdy, the defense, Lynch, Trent Williams. Who are they going to blame for their crappy season they just had? Like, he didn't do anything either.
No, he did not. Trent Williams.
I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. I love when they lose.
Williams will be back too with the Niners. He's not going to retire.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks versus the top three teams in the league. Oklahoma City, Boston, Cleveland, 0-7. And you take out the 110-104 loss to Cleveland at home in October, and they lost by double digits every game. The Knicks will make the playoffs. Number one, do they fix their defensive problems? And two, are they actually healthy?
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. You know, they can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, so we continue with the NFL skinny before we hook up with Adam Kaplan at the Combine in a few minutes.
Yeah, let me give you a couple of other things here. You mentioned this quickly yesterday. Saints general manager Mickey Loomis says the team will stick with Derek Carr as their starting quarterback in 2025. Have fun. Enjoy that, having Derek Carr as the quarterback next year. I'm sure Kellen Moore loves that too, that he's got to start things off with that guy as his QB. You met Andrew Berry,
Well, he
the
took the
general
job.
manager.
He took the job, so he's asking for it.
He's got to know. He's got to know that's what was signing up for. Here's Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. He, at least in the public eye, is putting up this front that he ain't trading Myles Garrett. He don't care what anybody says or who calls him.
So Scott, we've had plenty of dialogue, throughout the season and after the season ended. Certainly both him and his camp, both before and after the trade request. And again, our interest is in keeping Myles in Cleveland.
Andrew, were you aware of the trade request? The team know it was coming.
We were aware it was a possibility with the conversations that we had.
And did you know that statement was coming up?
Yeah, I wouldn't get into those specifics. But again, our focus is on building the team, and again, Myles has got to be a big part of that.
I gotta tell you, that guy.
I wouldn't really touch on any conversations that I had with other teams, just respectfully. I don't think that's appropriate, just for current and future business. But it's irrelevant to this situation because we're not interested in moving Myles.
Okay, so he was very intellectual and well-spoken, and he was ripped. Something that's a rare thing these days when you see the guy that's ripped and shredded, that he can actually speak that fluently and like an educated, smart dude. Like, he sounds really sharp. I'll tell you another thing. He's going to lose. He's going to lose this. This stance, this fight, this wall he's put up that we're not trading him. Yes, you are. That guy's not playing for you anymore. It's going to happen. Mark my words, he's losing Myles Garrett.
Certainly seems that way. I don't see, and maybe he's just playing that in the public eye, but I don't see how he's possibly going to be able to do it. He's going to lose a lot of guys. Nick Chubb is going to hit the open market.
He's going to lose him, too, to the Steelers.
He's going to lose him. Deshaun Watson is determined to play in the NFL again after his second Achilles injury. Meanwhile, they're talking about drafting quarterbacks, signing quarterbacks. They don't sound like they're very interested. Now, they have to have them because they can't cut them. It costs them $1 billion.
They owe so much money, they're screwed. You know what they need to do with him is they need to get the deferred payment plan going. Call the Dodgers and ask them how they do that for the next 30 years. Pay that guy off and get rid of him.
Speaking of money, let's go to Bengals Director of Player Personnel, Duke Tobin. He's got a couple of problems on his hand. He's got a few guys that need to get paid. First of all, he said Jamar Chase is going to be the NFL's highest paid non-quarterback. The deal will eventually be done, and he's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So what about T. Higgins? Well, yeah, he thinks he's going to pay him too.
Yeah, T. Higgins. Seems like 3 or 4 or 5 years I've been talking about T. I think you guys all know what I feel about T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is a fantastic football player, and I want him on my football team. Whenever I'm in charge of a football team, I want T. Higgins. And so I'm going to do what I can to get T. Higgins. Our preference with T. Higgins is to do a long-term agreement. Always has been. It continues to be, and we'll work hard to get that done. You know, we are fortunate. We've got a lot of really good football players. Fantastic football players, and we're fortunate to be in a position to where we can fit them all in.
Oh, yeah?
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard because the owner is like homeless the way he spends his money. He's the cheapest owner in the NFL, and that's all there is to it. They have had a chance to sign T. Higgins. Did you hear what he just said? He came right out of his mouth. We want to do a long-term deal with him, and we've wanted to do that for the last 4 or 5 years. And they've never done a deal with him. All they've ever done is tag him and screw him. Meanwhile, I have been telling you on this show since I've been here that this guy is so special. I have never seen a worse job of handling a star player in my life than what they've done with this guy. They were in the Super Bowl. He had 2 touchdown catches. And then on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, they didn't throw to him when he had caught the only passes in the Super Bowl for the Bengals and for Burrow in that Super Bowl. And they may never go to another one because they screwed that up so bad. And then after the fact, they have screwed him over and never given him anything. They've never done a deal with this guy. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's because of that Mike Brown.
Guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks versus the top 3 teams in the league. Oklahoma City, Boston, Cleveland, 0-7. And you take out the 110-104 loss to Cleveland at home in October, and they lost by double digits every game. The Knicks will make the playoffs. Number 1, do they fix their defensive problems? And 2, are they actually healthy?
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. You know, they can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The one and only Adam Kaplan, our NFL analyst on SportsGrid extraordinaire, is live at the Combine in Naptown, Indianapolis, Indiana, for all of the festivities that are going on. Adam, always great to see you. You can follow him on X at Kaplan NFL. You see him every Thursday right here on C2C. Thank God for that. And great job, by the way, Adam, at the Super Bowl in New Orleans with all of your great work that you did there with SportsGrid. Fantastic performance as usual by you. Let's talk about Indy and the Combine, and we'll start with the big story of Carter out of Penn State and his stress fracture.
Yeah, Scott, this was a very interesting situation. First of all, this is a guy in Abdul Carter who is in the running to be the first pick overall to the Titans if they don't trade the pick. Now, they've made it pretty clear they're open to moving it. I know a lot of people I've talked to so far in the days that I've been here, this is my fourth day, that the Titans are clearly open for business. Now, when it comes to Abdul Carter and the Titans or anyone else who could be picking number one, he doesn't have a broken foot. He has what's called a stress reaction. That's a precursor to a potential broken foot. What happens is that, and it's his right foot, by the way, on the medical testing, it showed some inflammation. There's something going on with that right foot. Drew Rosenhaus's agent told ESPN that he doesn't need surgery. They got a bunch of opinions. But, Scott, if they had to have it set and have surgery on it, you're talking about putting pins in a foot. You're talking 8 to 12 weeks typically for that type of procedure. But right now he doesn't need surgery. He's going to work out at the Penn State Pro Day. He's not working out here. Now, what was also known, Scott, though, we should mention, he had a shoulder injury, which was lingering, I'm told, from last season. All teams I've spoken to know about this, but this is not the issue. They didn't know anything about this right foot issue until the scanning, till the testing went down here. And, Scott, you and I have done these segments now, I think, about 5 years from the Combine. Something happens every year where there's something was not known medically, and they learn it through testing. The most important situation here out of everything, we've talked about doing the interviews. We've talked about the workouts. It's the medical testing that is by far number one here for all football players coming to the Combine.
All right, so I have to ask you. All right, so I've had all kinds of foot problems with basketball and double plantar fasciitis, you name it, bone spurs. I got problems right now, like corn on the side of a toe that'll drive you nuts playing basketball, et cetera, et cetera. So I've had a lot of problems, and I mean agonizing pain, foot problems. I do not see how. I know they're saying he doesn't need surgery. That's great, but I don't see how a guy could go and do a pro day and not aggravate that stress reaction again to the point where he may need the surgery. So are they denying the inevitable now? Where if he does the pro day at University Park, you can't tell me he's not going to aggravate that stress reaction at that pro day, trying to go all out for these teams and for the Titans and for the media and not injure it again and have surgery and then delay even further.
Yep, a couple things with this. First of all, and it's funny you mentioned basketball because you could see in my notes, its stress reaction is very common in the NBA with foot injuries.
Right.
And you're always worried about a potential fracture like that. That's what you worry about. But the scans do not show anything what you would call serious, but enough that clubs have to take a look at the risk here. Every single NFL team has what we call medical grades when it pertains to risk. And you've got to look at this thing. It's his right foot. He's a pass rusher. He's an edge rusher. He's an explosive football player. He is by far the number one player for this draft. There are a lot of good players. He is elite. There aren't a lot of elite players for this draft, and we'll get to that a little bit later on about the early word I've gotten in terms of the first round and what it looks like. But he is an elite football player. And the Titans, by the way, at number one, if they stay there, he's absolutely going to be in play. I could tell you as a fact he would be. And when you look at a situation, any team picking in the top five, he won't get past the top five for sure. You better feel comfortable, or you cannot take this player because on your point, he's got something there. That's what the reaction is. He stressed that foot. People need to understand that there is something there.
So listen, if it's nothing, then why is it the biggest story in Indianapolis today and the whole week? It's nothing. He's going to be fine. He's going to go number one. He's going to have his pro day. Meanwhile, it's the number one story, and we're leading with it with you today. So it is something enormous, and I think that he should make sure that he gets it fixed now rather than later. I don't believe it. Listen, let me tell you something. I've had so many foot injuries. They only get worse. They never get better. Like, it's just inevitable. Ask any NBA player that's had it. It's a nightmare. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It never gets better.
By the way, you and I are old enough to remember Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler, the former Sixers shooting guard.
Of course. He had foot issues throughout his career. That's what ended it early. Now, we're not comparing that to what Carter's dealing with right now. Carter and Drew Rosenhaus's agent are saying that he's going to work out and he's going to be okay. But we're gonna have more for you next week because now that this just came out, literally this is within 24 hours. Right. I'll let you know what other teams are telling me about the risk and how they feel about it. It's one thing for the agent to say something, but I want to know how teams feel about it. Yeah, because Drew is as good as it gets in the NFL in terms of being a rep, and he'll lie to his own mother to make money. I know him, and I know that he is a great agent. He will blow smoke until there's a gigantic forest fire. He'll do whatever it takes to get that guy taken number one. He's not stupid. Believe me, Drew's as slick as they come in the NFL. Let's talk about the linebackers and defensive linemen that worked out.
Right. So today, Scott, today's the first day of workouts. The defensive tackles and the linebackers are working out today. Now, we've got some of these defensive lineman times. I want to explain these because these are important to understand. A 40-yard dash time for a defensive tackle really doesn't mean anything. How often would it matter that a defensive tackle is running 40 yards downfield? How about never? And if a guy's got to run downfield 40 yards, that means it's a bad play. But two potential first-rounders who, if they go in the first round, will go late. They ran well, and we'll get to the other time, which is way more important. Derek Harmon, who I like a lot, from the University of Oregon, he ran a 4.95. And Darius Alexander, the same school that Quinyon Mitchell went to, Toledo, were the Eagles' first-round corner. He ran a 4.96. Now, yeah. By the way, these are 40-yard dash times. These are not wide receivers. Okay, these are not cornerbacks. These are not running backs. These are not tight ends. Not a big deal. But the most important time is these 10-yard splits. What you're looking for with a defensive tackle, Scott, is short area quickness. Way more important for defensive linemen. The aforementioned Darius Alexander, really good. If you're under 1.76 for a defensive lineman, he's a tackle. That's really good. He ran a 4.7. He ran a 1.72. Derek Harmon, who out of Oregon, who I just mentioned, he ran a 1.74. That's really, really good. These are official times, so that's good. But again, let's put in proper perspective. Lower body explosion, broad jump, a vertical is good, but a 40-yard dash for a defensive tackle means next to nothing.
So I have to ask you about, all these guys that don't work out. If I'm the others, I want to take advantage of them not working out. I want to be noticed. I want to be seen. I want to be talked about. I want to make my own mark. If all these studs don't want to work out, I want to take advantage of that if I'm someone else.
No, I agree with you. Now, for the guys who don't work out, you've got the pro day coming up. You also have private workouts for clubs. When clubs feel the need for it, they'll work them out privately near the campus. But the bottom line is you're absolutely right. For guys who are still going to be first-round picks at workout, you're showing that you want to compete. That's what GMs have told me over the years. They love when these guys compete. But a lot of players over the years, Scott, just decide they're not going to work out. But the big thing also, before we go into the second segment, is getting measurables here, Scott. Heights and weights and 40 times. Eventually, you're going to have to get a 40 time. But it's the height and weights. And the one thing that would always bother me when you would look at these heights, quarterback will be 6'3" in school. They come here, they could be 6'1".
We'll come right back with Adam.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks versus the top 3 teams in the league. Oklahoma City, Boston, Cleveland, 0-7. And you take out the 110-104 loss to Cleveland at home in October, and they lost by double digits every game. The Knicks will make the playoffs. Number 1, do they fix their defensive problems? And 2, are they actually healthy?
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, nobody covers the NFL like Adam Kaplan, and he's at the Combine in Indianapolis, downtown in the convention center. They got a huge media presence there, a ton of stations, radio, TV, podcasts, you name it. But is the talk of this Combine already the weakness of the first round of the draft?
Yeah, so last night, I'm hanging out with a bunch of people in scouting, and I always like to ask, what do you think of this draft? What are the strong positions? You and I will talk about this going forward. But the thing that I like to get an early word is, okay, there are 32 picks in the first round, Scott, but how many of them truly have first-round grades? Last year, I got 12 to 14 players at first-round grades. So far right now, Scott, I've got 10 to 12 players. Now, what that typically means, it's easier said than done, that teams will want to trade down, not up. That's why you see a lot of teams trying to trade down every year, and sometimes they just can't because it's not a good first round. So this year, it's not a great first round. So speaking of that, here are the guys who have typically have first-round grades from talking to teams so far. Cam Moore, the quarterback from Miami, by far the best quarterback for this draft. James Pierce, the edge rusher from the University of Tennessee. Travis Hunter, who I'm telling you, still more teams want him to play corner, not receiver. Doesn't mean he can't play receiver, but more teams want him to play corner out of Colorado. Abdul Carter, who you and I talked about in the first segment. He's the best player for this draft. Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State, who will go somewhere in the first round. Will Campbell could go in the first half of the first round. He's a good football player, the tackle from LSU. Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, another Penn State player, phenomenal football player, the tight end. Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, should go in the upper half. And Mason Graham, his teammate from Michigan, a defensive tackle. So, again, it's not what we call a blue-chip draft. It's just not. It's not good at quarterback. Edge rush is good. Corner is good. Tight end is good. Linebacker just okay. So, wide receiver is dreadful, what I'm told overall. It's not very good. It's one of the worst wide receiver groups we've seen in years.
Really?
It doesn't mean, Scott, doesn't mean there won't be a Ladd McConkey, somebody like that who blows it up that we didn't expect would blow it up year one. Brian Thomas was a guy not a lot of people thought about who went to LSU, played for the Jaguars, was a late first-round pick. This is a guy that turned out to be better than people thought. So what we understand is, Scott, they're going to be guys who outplay their position, but on the surface, this does not appear to be a very good first round.
Go back to Will Campbell. There's no doubt that guy's going early. I've never seen a draft that a tackle didn't go early in the NFL, and he's the man, right? Like, he's going to go early. You talked about him earlier that, he's going to go somewhere in the first round, but I think he's going to go early.
Definitely. He is arguably the best tackle for this draft. Typically see 4 to 6 tackles go in the first round, and I would say 4 for sure. But when you look at it, it's about the edge rush. The guys are going to go early. Quarterback is the number one value position. Cornerbacks typically don't go in the first 10 or 12, but if they're number one true corners are going to go in the first round. Edge rushers, quarterbacks for sure, and offensive left tackles protecting a right-handed quarterback. Those guys, you cannot get enough of them. And you're right, Scott. That's why a lot of them go in the first round.
Real quick, before you get into the salary cap, tell me about Cam Ward, because I'm a huge Canes fan, and I was really disappointed at the end of the year with the Georgia Tech game and the fumble, the Syracuse game, the bowl game with Iowa State. Even though it was a wild game, he didn't get it done. He didn't get it done in the biggest games of the season. They were undefeated. They thought they were going to play for a national championship. They thought they were going to be in the playoff. They thought, and they put it all on him. Is he going to live up to this hype in the NFL? Because he sure didn't live up to it at Miami. At the end of the day, he didn't get it done at all in the 3 biggest games.
Here's the deal, though. His tape overall is really strong. If you compare him to Shedeur Sanders, the number 2 quarterback, or at least he should be the number 2 quarterback, more into that in future segments. But this kid could make every single throw. He's got good size. Talked to a high-level NFL scouting source who told me background is really good on him in terms of being competitive. You really like the tape. But you have to understand here, Scott, there's a saying in the National Football League when it comes to franchise quarterbacks. If you don't have one, you're looking for one. Cam Ward is that guy. There's no question about it. He is by far the best quarterback for this draft. The only question is he a day one starter? I say he is. And the Titans have to ask themselves this, Scott. They've got a new front office. Their hope is they're never up at picking at number 1. Because if you don't if they trade down and don't get a quarterback, that's quarterback purgatory. You don't want to be there when you don't know who your quarterback of the future is.
They're already in quarterback purgatory with the crappy quarterbacks that they have. All right, talk about the cap and what it means for teams and their flexibility.
Yep. All right, Scott, this is big. So the cap went up way higher than NFL teams saw it. Last week they were told by the management council the cap, they gave them sort of a ballpark idea what it's going to look like, and it met inside those numbers. Cap highest in NFL history, $279.2 million. It's a rise of just under $24 million, 23.8. Scott, it doesn't mean that you spend more money. It means you got better caps, you got better flexibility in terms of structure. You don't have to restructure so many contracts. You have the ability to resign more players. And that's the key here. You've got better flexibility. It doesn't mean you spend more cash. It's cap we're talking about. They're 2 different things. So teams that typically restructure a lot of players to get under the cap and set up bad problems for down the road, not anymore. You shouldn't have to do that. Teams like the Saints, who historically are always over the cap, they got to stop doing that, stop restructuring contracts. This will absolutely help them. And I heard you and Mike talk about Derek Carr, by the way, staying.
Yeah.
It's because they owe him a decent amount of guaranteed money, by the way. That's why they're keeping him. And Scott, again, this is a weak free agent class at quarterback. Other than Sam Darnold, it's a bunch of journeymen. And it's not a very good draft class. The Saints know it. They don't have a lot of choices here if they don't keep Derek Carr.
Adam Kaplan has never lost an argument or fight with anyone under 5'6" at the combine in his career of almost 30 years covering the NFL. Adam, fabulous job. Keep your eyes out. A lot of guys getting in arguments and fistfights at that event. Be safe. Get a good meal. Get your rest.
Thanks,
get in a good night's sleep. Great job from Indy. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks versus the top 3 teams in the league. Oklahoma City, Boston, Cleveland, 0-7. And you take out the 110-104 loss to Cleveland at home in October, and they lost by double digits every game. The Knicks will make the playoffs. Number 1, do they fix their defensive problems? And 2, are they actually healthy?
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. You know, they can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Everybody loves leftovers.
Everybody does love leftovers, and I got a lot of stuff to get to here. Some other NFL stragglers. The salary cap's official, $279 million. That will be for next season. Some rule stuff. They're going to use the Hawkeye virtual measurement instead of the old chain gang.
Good.
For the 2025 season. Finally, the chips in the footballs. They're finally going to... Now, they're going to keep the old guys with the chains out there as a backup. So they're still going to drag around on the field. But
Why?
Allegedly the Hawkeye, that's what I'm saying. Why? Why even keep them out there? Why even have them?
Because they're drunk. When they spot these balls on the field, you remember the game? The guy veered to his right and we saw the bad spot. It's embarrassing. Just get it right with the technology. What are you waiting for?
They can't do it. They're also tinkering. They want to tinker with the overtime again. They've been messing with this for years. They're considering more changes to overtime in the regular season. They feel it's gone too much advantage for the team that gets the ball first. Too much advantage that they've given them. The NFL reviewed a number of fouls drawn by quarterbacks to see if there's potential preferential treatment from the refs. Mahomes was the 8th most fouled quarterback this past year. Tua was number 1 with the most fouls called against him this year. Josh Allen was number 2. Yes. Jalen Hurts has been recognized as Philadelphia's Citizen of the Year.
Wow.
Winning the Super Bowl, stuff he does for the schools, everything else. Citizen of the Year, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. The Cowboys are now the most valuable franchise in the world. $10.32 billion is what the Cowboys are worth.
Story comes out every 3 months.
The Warriors, Knicks, Lakers, and Yankees round out the top 5. I already told you about the scuffle at the Starbucks with the NFL insiders.
Yeah.
We did that earlier. Ohtani will make his spring debut Friday against the Angels. That's tomorrow. But he will not pitch. Still won't pitch. He's not ready to pitch in a game yet. Tariq Skubal will start opening day for the Tigers. Well, of course he is. He won the Cy Young last year. Like, honestly, splitting the atom here. Mike Trout hits his first home run of the spring. Hopefully he stays healthy. Opening day, not the Tokyo opening day. The real opening day is 1 month from today when we get all the teams out there and we could start betting on taters again. We can't wait to get it going. I'll do the rivalry stuff with you tomorrow because I'm going to budge in on the Ferrall finish here with the
You
Gene
got it.
Hackman. Of course,
You got it.
award-winning actor
What's the
Gene
update?
Hackman passing away at the age of 95. He was found in his home in New Mexico along with his wife, Betsy, and their dog. Now, you know this. Everybody has seen this story today. When it first came out, it was no foul play, no nothing. Everybody. I mean, I thought it was kind of strange that all three of them were passed away in the house. But as the day has gone on, now they are saying there is enough evidence that it's suspicious. There's going to be an investigation. Apparently, there was some things moved around in the house. The door was open. Really unbelievable story. And the passing, he was 95 years old, Gene Hackman. But Scotty, one of the best actors. I mean, some of the roles for Gene
Connection.
Hackman.
He was always a good bad guy.
Hoosiers. I mean, Hoosiers as Gordondale. And a favorite of mine, doesn't get mentioned as much with him. I love The Firm with Tom Cruise. He was excellent in The Firm. I thought he was awesome. Get Shorty. So many great Gene Hackman.
Obviously had Frankenstein.
Yeah, he was young Frankenstein, late 70s. He was a cameo in
very
that.
impressive. French Connection,
Yeah.
very impressive. One of my favorite actors of all time. It's just a horrible story. I look forward to seeing what happens with that story as it progresses, because you know it will. A couple was forced to sit next to a corpse, a dead woman on a Qatar Airlines flight. For 4 hours, they made this couple sit with a dead woman in between them. They put a blanket over her, but she was dead. She died on the flight, and they made him sit next to the corpse. Meanwhile, they had all kinds of open seats on the flight, and they wouldn't move her or move them. Like, what is happening here? I have never heard of anything worse. Men busted trying to launch meth and tobacco over a federal prison wall with an air-compressed cannon like you see at the NBA games when they shoot out the T-shirts to the crowd. GTD is next with the Kevin Walsh. Get my app. It's badass. Search Ferrall. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coast to Coast.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.